Welcome everybody to our broadcast for today. I'm Karen Bonanno, your host at EduWebinar. We'll get underway shortly once we get people into our virtual space, and I'll introduce Paul and then hand over to Paul to take us through for this next hour. Welcome to this special webinar with Paul de Temple, the Managing Director for Wheelers. In this digital broadcast, Paul will share with you the tools and features that Wheelers Books can provide you to help you manage your school library. Just some background to Paul. You probably know him well, but we'll cover this for the sake of the recording that we're capturing. Paul's been an owner and director of Wheelers for over 15 years, and during that time, he's worked very closely with schools and public libraries throughout New Zealand and in Australia. Wheelers Books is a specialist library and school library supplier and provides access to a worldwide database of books through its specialist library website. Wheelers also provides ePlatform, which is a very popular ebook, audiobook platform. Right now, you've entered in this space what we call a listen-only mode, and that's really just designed to minimise any external noises which can distract us. But you do have this question facility. So you'll see a little icon there with a little question mark inside. If you click on that, it'll pop out this panel, and then you can ask questions. Now, we encourage you to enter questions as we go, and Paul will then answer those, and we can then get that information to you. And if there's any questions that we need to follow up, that's also very useful. At the end of the webinar, there's a chance to give some online feedback. So also, again, to provide some queries that you might have if they're specific to your particular workplace. You will get a certificate of attendance in a follow-up email, plus a link to the recording and also the contact details. So Paul, I'm just going to change over to you as we've done before. And if you share your screen, then we're right to go.
Very good. Thanks very much, Karen. Hi, everyone. So, yeah, the thrust of this this webinar is to look at what the key differences are between us as a library supplier and perhaps some of the other online options and other suppliers that are out there. Having looked down the registrations list, I know that we are probably quite familiar to many of you, so I apologize in advance if we cover some basic stuff, but hopefully, I'm very hopeful that we'll be covering things that you weren't aware of as well, and that's an objective of this. So as Karen mentioned, Wheelers has been supplying schools and libraries for a long time in New Zealand. I've been involved since 2005, and we're the same guys who do the platform. Now, some of the very, very basic differences between us as a library supplier and, say, a retail online bookseller. All of you as school customers have an automatic 30-day account, and my understanding is that everyone who registered for the webinar also already had an active account. There's obviously a phone number, a free phone number that you can call, and you'll speak with a customer service person who will deal with your issues person to person. So it's not a matter of emailing and inquiring. We do work with SCIS. I know that it's still quite popular in New Zealand. So the way that, when I say we work with SCIS, if you're a SCIS school, we basically tick a box on your account, or you can do that in fact, and any book that you order, we actually compile all the ISBNs of every book ordered by a SCIS school in a day, and at the end of the day it's all done automatically, but it's sent to one of the SCIS catalogers who do a match against their database. Now, if one of the books that you have ordered does not yet have a SCIS record, it's tagged, and the moment we receive a copy of that book, the SCIS cataloger who visits us every other day will take the book and catalogue it. And what that means is the books that you receive will all have a SCIS record. There may be a day delay or something like that on occasions, but every single book will have a SCIS record. We ship freight free, and what I'm going to show you as well is our international price comparison system, and we've actually taken the liberty of switching this on for each of you registered today, and you'll see that it is a feature that enables you to save money and or receive books earlier by comparing to the international version of a book. But we do that freight free also, so we'll have a look at that in a moment. And lastly, some of you may have noticed and in fact signed up for, we're now offering $1 per book covering, and there's an additional benefit that if you do spend $5,000 in a year, including GST, and including that cost of covering, we'll rebate 100% of the processing. This has actually been super popular. We've now got 70 schools since we offered that, 4-6 weeks ago, whenever it was. So please contact us if that's of interest at all. So I'm just going to jump into the website. Obviously, our web address is wheelers.co.nz. You've got the option of browsing all books, which shows, you'll see up here, CYA, 1.8 million, adult and general classification, 18 million. Now, there will be some in that category that where they're suitable for children and young adult as well. Now that's an enormous database, and I just kind of want to explain that for to give you a backdrop of what we're dealing with here. We do attempt to profile every single English language book in the world, including everything published in New Zealand, even the most obscure material. Now, some of those titles will be repeated because there'll be a New Zealand release, and then there'll also be a UK one and a US one. So HarperCollins might issue, 3 or 4 different releases around the world for the same title. So they're included, and they can be useful for you as well, and I'll show you that in a second. There's probably about 6 million books on there that are out of print, and we've left those on there intentionally because if you're searching to replace a title, it's hopefully useful for you to discover earlier that book is simply not available, and so we leave those out of prints on there. So this database is arrived at as follows. We get a Nielsen book data import, worldwide import every single day, and we bring that in, and it's updating titles, and it's looking at titles not yet released, so there's a lot of pre-release information in there. On top of that, we get daily title and stock feeds from the 10 largest publishers in Australia and New Zealand, but we also get, there's 2 big wholesalers in the UK and 2 big wholesalers in the US, and we get title and stock feeds and pricing feeds from them every single day as well. So we're bringing in all this title data in order to have a really accurate view of what's available, what the pricing is, what the alternatives are for release dates between, say, the UK and the New Zealand version. And so it's a big but very, very important job in the background of this website. So no one wants to look at that many books. Well, you probably do, but it's very difficult to find the time to do it. So you can just jump into one of the months and then filter by age or fiction, and you can get to a selection that way. And I'll show you a bit about that in a moment. But you can also just go to schools. And what we've done, because we do a lot of selection for public libraries in particular, we've got 2 full-time children and young adult selectors, and so they go through the thousands of books that are released each month, and they make selections for public libraries in different areas, and we use that to basically tag a key selection of books that may may well be of interest to schools. And so what you'll see here, and you'll see my mouse cursor flying around, hopefully, upcoming May, so pre-order, primary, intermediate, and college, and there's a total of 360 books. So there's probably about 4,000 books released worldwide, but there'll be a whole lot of those for CYA and about 10,000 for adult and CYA. So this is obviously just a subset of that. So what I'm going to do is actually just click into college, and you can take a look. Now there's a little weird bug that I've just noticed that will be fixed by tomorrow morning, but you'll see here May, and then we jump in here, and there's June. Now, June needs to show on the front page, but the reason I'm mentioning that is when ordering from pre-release, there's actually a cutoff date for pre-release in order to be guaranteed to be on the first print run. And so we deal with this a lot with public libraries. You know, they want to be on the first print run and get them as early as possible. So we tell them the date by which you need to order for June in order to get them basically pre-release. We get them, you know, 3 to 8 days prior to the release date, enabling us to get them out to you by the release date. But in order to achieve that, you need to be kind of working with these dates. And so every one of these kind of gives you an indication of when to release, you know, to order by. That's ordering pre-release. Obviously, if there's a book in stock or it's already been released, we show you the stock figure as well. So pre-release and current are both options. Now, so we're going to have a look at June, and we're just going to look down here. This is college for June, 93 titles. Now, there is a few things to look at here. Firstly, there's a default search by popularity. And so because our customers are schools and New Zealand public libraries, if anyone orders one of these titles, they kind of score a point from our popularity sort algorithm. So the most popular float to the top, and that means that it may be helpful to draw your eyes to something that you would like to consider that you may not have seen or whatever. So it's just something that's going on in the background. Now, the new feature that some of you may have seen, or I know have seen before, but as mentioned, we did switch this on for you just this afternoon for registrations for this webinar. It's called our International Price Comparison. And so what it does is, because this title is released in the UK as well as New Zealand, the pricing is different in the UK and the release date is different too. So what we do is, we know that you as librarians would like to shop around often, and so we're basically providing you with a tool to do that in a really kind of quick and easy way. So here you'll have the New Zealand RRP, and our discount is applied, and it shows the release date in New Zealand. And then over here you've got the RRP in the UK is £12.99. We use today's exchange rate. We don't add any freight, it's freight free, and we add New Zealand GST, which is required by customs. So what you've got here is a release date of 2nd of May, and the price is higher. So that enables you very, very quickly to know what the options are. And there's different ways you can use this stuff, so or these features. So down here, for example, this title here, the Unofficial Fortnight Essential Guide. I'm horrified to see that is kind of the second most popular book for June, and I won't be getting my son one. But you'll see that in the UK it is, what is that, $4 more expensive. However, it was released 6 months earlier. Now you may, and this kind of defaults mainly to the cheapest option. So you may say, look, if we're sitting at mid-November, you may go, look, I really want that now, and I'm happy that it's a little bit more expensive. And so you can order it and it'll arrive in November, and you don't wait till June. It just gives you the visibility on what the options are and the choice. It kind of tracks down the cheapest as the starting point, but you can overrule that in a second. So yeah, and here you've got, you know, well, this is slightly cheaper, but certainly a lot earlier, and it'll give you choices all the way along. You certainly wouldn't go for that UK version because it's released one day earlier, and yet it's $12 more expensive. So, you know, this is what we receive in our database feeds. It's all it's all bought in and automated. So it just gives you lots of good opportunities to you know, to get the most out of your budget. Now, there's a big wish list and basket system, and you can add and subtract wish lists and baskets as you choose. So you can rename the baskets, you can delete them, you can add new ones, etc. This is a kind of a test account we've got here, so there's some oddly named ones in there, but they can, I've just put my name and then Paul June. And so if I was selecting for, you know, for May, I would go and just add a new basket, and that just gives me an additional way to organize, you know, my kind of purchasing. If you've got multiple people who want to either order or make suggestions, you can set them up. If they're making suggestions, perhaps give them a name in wish list. If someone is doing just some fiction books, or they're buying, you know, for I don't know, Gallipoli or something like that, you can actually just name a basket and use them in different ways. And so it helps when multiple people are using the same account, and it helps when one person has different categories they want to organize. At any point, you can jump into a kind of a overarching area to reorganize it, which is wish list and basket, and you can delete any of the baskets or rename them as you see fit. So it's really easy to organize. If a book has already been added to a wish list, yours or someone else's, then it'll show in wish list. And so you'll kind of know. If it's in another wish list as well, it'll name the wish list and then give you a hyperlink, and you can jump to it. If we had ordered, and given this is a test account, we won't see much of that. But if someone had ordered this, if this was, say, a re-release, or it had been you know, released a year ago, and someone had already ordered it, it would tell me exactly when it had been ordered and what the order number was, and provide a hyperlink. So it just helps you guard against ordering the same book twice, and just gives you an option to control that. A feature you would have no doubt seen is the title notes. So if you want, you know, if this book has been requested by, you know, Johnny, then you can put a note there, and you add it to a wish list, and that note will follow the book all the way to delivery. So, you know, you jump into the wish list, you see that the title note is there. If you proceed to check out and you order this title, your order confirmation will have that note against the title, and then at the time when the book is actually delivered, the paperwork going with it will have Toffee, Johnny K requested. And that hopefully just saves the need for post-it notes all over your computer screen. So it's basically an opportunity to write yourself notes, knowing that they're going to follow the order all the way through. I'll go back into this wish list and just show you a couple of other things. Obviously, you can delete those. You can adjust notes at any point. You can download this as a CSV, which is effectively a spreadsheet. You can move everything across into a basket if you choose to. It's possible to make these priority, and I just request that that's not overdone. But if something is tagged as a priority, then we try very hard to move things through at high speed anyway. But we get them in and out in a day, basically, if they're tagged as a priority. You can import a list of ISBNs. So if you have, I don't know, New Zealand Post Awards or something like that, you've got the ISBNs. You can literally just drop in some ISBNs into a basket, and you can do that a couple of ways via that click there, or you can literally just copy, let's say, 20 ISBNs and paste them all into the search bar, push go, and then the 20 titles will come up, and you'll be able to see them without kind of dipping into it one by one and having a look. What else we got here? So I'll go into the detail, and so what you have here is anything that's got a blue hyperlink you can click on. So if you'd like to look at other books by Sarah Crossan, you can click on that. This is a relatively new feature, but if you hover over this, it'll show you alternate formats. So some of the big name titles come out in all sorts of formats. So there'll be multiple ISBNs for different releases. The ebook is useful, but it's probably more useful as things like trade paperback and hard copy, etc. And it'll just give you a kind of a single point snapshot of what else is out there. So if you've found one title, you want to make sure that you wouldn't prefer it in something else. So what you see here in this detail view is, again, what you saw in that price comparison environment. So you've got the pound sterling price, you've got today's exchange rate, you've got the discount we've applied, and the fact that it's freight free. That price there is different to that one, and I'm almost certain that that's just the GST that's been added, which obviously is required at customs. And this one's just going through the same detail. So the locally sourced material most often gets 25% off. Now, a lot of titles are a lot cheaper in New Zealand than they are internationally at the moment, but there is some variation as exchange rates can vary a lot, and the New Zealand or Australian publishers setting the RRP can be either quick or slow to react. So I couldn't summarize the pattern, but I just do know that at different times New Zealand is a lot better, and at other times others. But international can be, more often better. But what this does is just tells you what they are, so you don't actually have to understand how the RRPs are getting set, etc. Down here, you've got a bit more material. So you've got number of pages, you've got dimensions. The reason it says -14 in stock is because it's a pre-release, and so it's there is no stock anywhere yet. So we must have that many orders, I guess. Okay, so what else? Back on the schools page, given that this whole page is specific to New Zealand school libraries, we try and introduce other things that may be of interest or of use to you. So there's a few kind of top 10 lists here, which are updated automatically based on what has been the most popular in schools in New Zealand in the last 3 months. So, you may choose to periodically have a glance down there and see if there's anything you haven't considered before and might like to consider now. You know, there's some other collections that we put together periodically with books, and you know, when we do that, we're looking at things like stock and new releases and making sure that we're identifying any good new books, you know, when you with regard to, say, Anzac Day. There's a way of isolating titles that have teachers' notes. So we attach teachers' notes when they're made available. So the way you'd discover those is you'd go into this, and that icon there, oh no, that's library choice. So that, you'd go in there, there's the teacher's note icon. This is a good example of all the different formats. So you've got all these formats here, and so you can, you know, you can click on any of them and just consider whether that one suits you better. But, you know, having that all in one spot saves kind of trawling around, hopefully. And then you'll see teacher's notes here and download PDF. So you just either right click or left click on that and download it. So that's how the teacher's notes works. So I showed you the baskets and the wish lists. The orders is something else that you can jump into. Now, the examples here are going to be quite horrible to look at, just because we don't really do this as a transactional website. So this looks even worse than when I looked at it beforehand. But let's just have a look at something. So you can click into an order and you can see the status. So if you're waiting for a book from us, you can click in through here onto the order, and if we invoiced it and packed it half an hour ago in the warehouse, it'll show shipped. And so if we've so it'll just give you a real-time update on where your books are. And so you can download any of these, or you can download the orders by into a CSV folder if that was useful, or you can just look for a particular title. So if you've got multiple orders, you can search for it and find it. So there's lots of different ways of doing it, and you know, this one's order obviously come from this this particular order. You can click on that and see the whole order. So there's lots of blue hyperlinks that just give you opportunities for to drill down into your order history and see you know, what's going on. Okay, there's some other stuff here that I should be showing you. So I think I'll click in here. We've got quite a new feature that some of you may have discovered already, but it's not available for all books, but it is available on quite a few graphic and picture book type titles. And it's basically Google Preview, and so it gives you an opportunity to look inside for a limited amount of the title itself, and you can see, you know, you can get a pretty good idea of, you know, the look and feel of the book. And so if you're keen to make a decision in advance on, you know, how suitable it is for a particular age group or a particular audience, you know, hopefully you can glance at this and get, you know, get the right feel for it. Obviously it doesn't do the whole book, so I think it suddenly tells you you've reached your limit or something. So that's quite a new feature, and by all accounts it's been well received. And the way you know that's there is from this Google Preview icon. So you just click on that. So that's a good one. I'm just looking at my notes. Sorry, excuse me. Now we do have also a so we started with the schools page, which is this more limited collection, and obviously you may well be interested in looking more broadly. So you can go back, of course, to browse all books. You can go to new and upcoming releases, and I know that's how our library selectors tend to start. So they'll go for that. But you know, you're in children's young adult here. Let's go last 3 months, and then you know, there's an awful lot in the last 3 months just for children and young adults. So I think I've massively undershot the numbers that are being released. But you can apply feature. Oh no, that's everything. So you can apply filters, and the filters are all down the left side. So we can apply narrower filters if we want to. We're just interested in print books. Don't want any large print. And I don't know, perhaps we want graphics, so we can go for graphics. So you've got all these filters applied up here. You can get rid of any of them just by clicking on that in a little, but the number is way down. It's now, for the last 3 months, I think children and young adult, print, graphics is 756 books. And again, it's the sort by popularity. So things that have been ordered by schools and libraries will be shown first. And you can scroll down and just take a view on those, and you'll see the price comparison operating there as well. We spend a lot of we work very hard on availability as well. So what you've got in this box is updated daily. It's part of the big import. So if we get an updated stock feed from HarperCollins well, HarperCollins New Zealand is based in Australia nowadays, but if they sent us yesterday, you know, close of business yesterday, they sent us an update that they've just sold out of stock here, then this morning it'll say temporarily out of stock. And that's kind of important, because if it didn't say that, and if we didn't reflect it, then we might be then profiling the New Zealand title here. It might be $15 and you choose that, but the reprint process can take months and months, and it's uncertain as well. So what we do is we actually take away the New Zealand option because of that uncertain availability. And we've just learned through experience that, you know, it's not worth making that channel available when it's so uncertain that, you know, the book will even arrive. So what we've done on the back of that is we've shown that the international one is in stock, and we get, as I mentioned earlier, we get the daily feed, so we know that's in stock, and we know how, you know, we get air freighted 2 or 3 times a week from each of those overseas, so we can get it to you in 6 to 12 days, and there's the price. So there's a lot of technology that goes into reflecting, you know, true information around that availability. So I'm going to take a punt here too, and series, you can click on series and you can get some titles here based on the series. Now, I'm quite clear that there is other ways of, I don't know if that's the complete series, but I'm going to show you some other ways to arrive at that information as well. So the advanced search features have been updated a lot. So you click on those, and I'll show you some of the ways that they work. So if we look at, wait on, I'm going to go back here and go, so you can choose, you can probably go, I think now if that's actually a search that you'd like to do, you know, periodically, you can name it as well and then save the search, and then you can have saved regular search combinations saved there ready for you to go. So I won't save that one yet, but we'll just go and have a look and see that there's some good options there in terms of hopefully, you know, a lot of them are there. Now, I was given this next bit by a librarian because I certainly wouldn't have known to look for this myself. But here you have a kind of a range search by Dewey code, and what I'm going to input is the Dewey code for the puzzle books. So if that is vaguely of interest to you, then you can say the Dewey code range, and then you can apply things like children's young adult and last 12 months. You can save the search there, and then you can search it as well. So you'll find those there, and then you can go in here and search by latest editions, for example. So if you were to do this in 2 months' time, it would be at the top, and that's, you can exclude ebooks. So if you were to search for that in 2 months' time and you sorted by latest editions, then you'd get the ones that you hadn't seen prior. And if ever you want to go back and find your saved search, you can go in there and just find puzzle books. And there it is, and then you search for it. So, so two things I was looking to demonstrate there: the ability to search by Dewey code or Dewey code range, and the second one is to save a search. Now, again, I was assisted with an even more obscure search. So you can go for, say, soccer, if that was of interest, and you can search for that as well. Now, apparently, if you were to add a couple 077 to the end of that Dewey code, you'd get soccer coaching. So that's something that may be of interest. If, for example, you were interested in high interest, low reading ability titles, so possibly the best way to achieve that would be to search by publisher. So you can jump into publisher, and I think you can do that too in advance. So you can do a by publisher. So let's do that. And so, you know, if you've identified that Ransom Publishing is a known publisher for the type of content that you're interested in, then you can save that, or you can just go to the browse page and search by publisher, which is exactly what we achieved when we did it via the advanced search. You can achieve the same thing for, say, Barrington Stoke. So different ways to achieve the same things. What else have we got here? We used to have, you may have noticed, we used to have more than one search box, and we've just looked to pull them all together. And the idea is that it needs to be a bit more integrated in terms of how the search. So you can drop in there, you can drop in an ISBN for sure, you can do a title, you can do an author, or you can do a combination. So one title that I was given to search for was a title, The Time of Your Life by Tanya Batt. And so you can actually do part of the title and part of the author if you need to. And hopefully that's where you find a couple of copies here, or a couple of possibilities. So this is the title I was looking for, and I would have achieved the same thing if I just searched by title or by author. And Okay, so the time of your live. There we go. So that's the same thing. Okay, you can do, I think we looked at that. It's series searches. So, you know, there's Beast Quest and okay. Right. Well, I think I've actually reached the end of my kind of core demo. So now I'm open to questions. If you have anything you'd like to ask, I'll do my best. If I get out of my depth, which has been known to happen, then I will get back to you as soon as you know, as soon as I get to consult with colleagues.
Thanks, Paul. Some great features there, and certainly makes life easier working in the library. Haven't got any questions coming in at this point, but I've sent a little alert to people that if they do have them, this is the time to key them in, and we can then take those and address those as we go. It looks like you might have absolutely stunned them, Paul, in
No,
everything that's there.
I think looking down the list, we had some very experienced librarians who probably could teach me a thing or two. So about the website. But look, please don't hesitate to fire in any questions if you do think of them on reflection. You know, the way this website has been constructed, it's been constructed in dialogue with our customers. So all of any good features on there have usually been a result of a conversation with a librarian who says, look, my life would be easier if your website could actually do this, and it can't do that at the moment, I'm pretty sure. And we go, you know, oh wow, you know, that's a good idea, we never thought of it. And so we go and speak to our developers. So we've been doing that, you know, for quite a while now. So, you know, it is this feedback loop which is, you know, central to what, you know, what we provide. So if you have further feedback, then, you know, we're all ears. So please do send it in either by phone or email or whatever.
I've got a question from Sheila saying, how do you determine the ages for the books?
Okay, so with 18 million, it's a really good question. I should have covered that. So thanks, Sheila. So given the volume of the books and given that so many of them are actually profiled prior to release, it's safe to say we haven't seen a lot of them. So we do rely on the publisher's feedback. Now that doesn't always work perfectly, just because there are a couple of publishers who I won't name, but are pretty obvious, who tag things 0 to 99, and I presume that's a marketing play to get, you know, captured more often. But it's that's an extreme example. But we do know that different publishers have a slightly different take on age appropriateness. We get involved with these library choices, so we have, you know, someone who takes more of a view on them and corrects ones that are not, you know, are clearly not appropriate. And obviously, you know, anything that we've put in primary, intermediate, college, we've done so in the belief that they're appropriate for those age groupings. So, Sheila, we don't apply all of the age groupings. We work with what is provided, and we find ways of improving it, you know, when we can.
Another question we've got is, if you wanted a book SCIS catalogue, what would be the cost and how would that be achieved on purchase?
Okay, well, it happens automatically. It happens automatically if you order it through us. So if we've tagged your account as, so you can go into an account here, and I think I'm going to be able to show you how to do this. Let's have a look. Yeah, here we go. So if you go into your own account, and if you're a SCIS customer, you go into options, SCIS updates, and you just push yes on that. So, and then save, and then every single book that you order through us is checked against the SCIS catalogue, and there is no cost. So we don't organise anything with SCIS if you haven't ordered the title with us. Hopefully that answers your question. If you want to, if tomorrow you can't find that field that I've just shown, just call us and say, look, Paul was going on about SCIS on the webinar, and there's a way of turning my account on to SCIS. Can you do it for me? And customer service will happily do that for you.
Thanks, Paul. A nice little feature there as well. The question we've got is, when you do book coverings, are barcodes and spine labels added after?
No, we don't. We don't add the barcodes and spine labels, simply because it is so unique to each school. So everyone does their spine labels and differently, and everyone has their own set of barcodes. So we don't go there. A lot of our public libraries and school library, or all of our school library customers, then attach their barcodes and spine labels over the top, and we work with, if you haven't used that approach before of putting them over the top, we'll happily demonstrate and recommend for you the some really good tape that can't be picked off. So we don't apply that. It's basic covering, which is Duracell type sticky covering over the top, folded across for soft covers, variations for hard cover and dust jackets.
Okay, we've got one person's actually given you a challenge, I think, here, Paul.
Oh no.
Well, that's this customer feedback loop.
Yes.
With the promotion of the book covering, they've said it'd be really great if there was a short little video outlining how all that happens, particularly, I guess, with that addition of spine labels and things afterwards, and what would it look like?
Oh, that is a great idea. That's a great idea. Okay, challenge accepted. So I'll have that within a week. Okay, and we'll do a demo of what we're processing, how we're doing it, and how then we attach on the outside, as we do for, say, public libraries as well. We're also very happy to send out a sample as well. So we take we've got we'll find an older book, I guess, and cover it for you as we would do, and send it out to you at no charge just to have an inspection of. But the video is on its way.
Let's see. We've got a question about missing book cover pictures and whether or not they can get that from you at all.
We'll look very quietly. If you don't tell me about it and you right-click on one of our images, you're welcome to do it that way. We can't harvest them for you, but there is a we go to a lot of trouble to source images from different places, and as long as we're not selling them to anyone, I think the suppliers of that material are fine for us to pass them on. So if that's answering your question, great. If there's more to it, then don't hesitate to either ask a follow-up question now or contact me at work tomorrow and we can chat further.
I've got a question about if you're wanting book covering, how do you request that?
You can just email us or phone us any of the ways for contacting, you can just email us and say, can someone call me? Or you can register the question now and just say, please contact me about covering, and we'll give you a call. So yeah, everyone will know how to put you in touch with the right person if you do reach out to us.
Okay, that looks about the end of our questions there. So, Paul, it looks like there's no more questions.
No, very good, very good. Well, no, thank you, everyone. Certainly appreciate you spending the time. And I think Karen will organise for a recording of this to come out to you. You may well have had enough, so if you need to delete it, then you're very welcome to. But if a colleague of yours would find it useful, etc., that will be sent out shortly. So thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you.